Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Obviously, I was like scheduling my live, and I had it as something about we were right at the end here with the Mateus deal about to wrap up, and then David Ornstein's piece has broken, and here we are. So obviously, big news this morning, just coming out now, which is going to be the main subject of discussion. And to some degree, I am hugely of the in relief that this is over, considering it's been heading this direction for a while, that Mateus Fernandes will join Tottenham Hotspur. Will not join United. Spurs have bid £85 million guaranteed for Mateus Fernandes, and he has agreed to join them. So now, before we get into all of that, I want to say, look, I've spent a month warning everybody here about this. You know, I know that there's people who have said different. I know that there's been other stuff out there. I know that it's not what people wanted to hear, but I warned everybody for a month because I expected this to happen.
Get Scott.
Agreed, Javier. Agreed. I'm very happy it's over because people were getting their hopes up, understandably, for different reasons. People were thinking it was for sure, it was nailed on, it was guaranteed. And it wasn't. You know, I said for a month, this is not necessarily going to go the way people expected. I said West Ham will get their 85 million, and they're going to get that price. They don't need to sell for less. And I said that the Spurs' interest was serious, that he wasn't going to pick us over anyone. And I'm telling you, the club knew that. This isn't a surprise. This isn't them getting, blindsided or anything like that. None of that has happened. They knew all of this because that's how I knew all of this from the context that I have. You think United should have walked out of this deal when Fernandes started welcoming approaches from Spurs? Why did we waste our time on it? We're not wasting our time. We could do a ritual here. Mateus Fernandes. On. Okay. Gone. Off the board. Done. It's over. Okay. I've been talking for the last week about how spit on his name. I've been talking for the last week about how we have alternatives, we have other options, and all of that.
Messing around for a player who was sold for what the club wanted a month ago.
Nah, look, I
from because he wants more than 100 kpw.
Look, I understand why you're saying that. I do, and I understand the frustration. Trust me, okay? I get the frustration. It's not a victory lap. It's, yes, I've been reporting the correct information on this for a month, but it's not a victory lap because obviously at the end of the day, what I want more than anything, what we all want is for United to sign good players. Mateus Fernandes is a very good player, a very, very good young player that I would have been happy, very, very happy for us to sign. But we didn't waste a month. Okay, we did not waste a month of time. There's nothing, we haven't wasted anything. Nothing has actually happened during this entire month.
Mil is ridiculous, James. So happy we didn't do this.
Me too.
Alexi Lalbridge
Me too.
Is going crazy.
Me too. I'm very, very happy we didn't do it. Because to me, the success for United, obviously we've got to sign players. We've got to build a better squad. We've got to keep going. We have to do better and better and better. That's what we have to do. But that we are never going to be successful unless we have principles, unless we have a plan. You don't luck into winning titles. You get there with a plan. You get there with a clear idea of how you are operating. You get there with a clear idea moving forward. You get there by deciding the way you are going to do things and sticking to it and not going by the way the wind blows. You can't set valuations and prices and say, hey, we built this whole data team, this whole scouting team, everybody here, so that we could determine who the right players are, what they're worth, what the risks are, and all of that. And then the minute a bunch of people on Twitter get mad, we're going to ignore all of them and throw an extra 30 million at it because people are impatient. I'm sorry, but that is the big boy pill to swallow. They would have to destroy, waste, and ignore every good thing they have invested in at this club just to satisfy the masses, to go against what they know to be the correct decisions. It isn't the way, and it's not going to be the way. Okay? Come on, camera. It's not how we're going to get successful. It is not how we're going to get back to where we were. We did this for so long. We've been over this for such a long time. You know, Satyajit, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships to the community. Thank you very much. And look, I'm frustrated in the same instance because it is irritating. It is annoying. You know, it is frustrating at the end of the day, you know, not getting players and all of that. And we have to do the right things. And as the moment, we've only signed one player. It's June 30th. Okay. Yeah. We've got to have a good summer by the end of it. But that doesn't mean this is the one to panic about. It doesn't mean this is the one to change. This is the one to get all bothered by. This was never the one, man. This was never the one. You know, and that's why I made warnings about it all along over the whole month. They weren't hanging their hat on this deal. You know, if I thought the club didn't have another plan, I would have been pissed off. If I spent the last month being, I think it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen, guys, it's going to happen, there, all of this, I'd be pissed off right now. I'd be pissed off right now. But I know they didn't hang their hat on this deal happening for quite some time.
Bad your agent must be if they engineer a move to Spurs and not United. Gonna be well weird in those first interviews.
It will be. It will be. Hold on. It skipped one message. I'll come back to.
Clear our name as pound victims.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't change the fact we were screwed. Anderson didn't happen. Mateus is gone next. What? We spent 3 more weeks on Alex Scott, so Arsenal hijacks him. No, man. I get that. Every
midfielder now cost above 70 at least. So what was the point in wasting so many days for this?
But we didn't waste any days, guys.
Pre-season starts
guys, we didn't waste any days.
Clubs hike prices, do we buy no one?
No. Then who? Here comes the next one. Then who? Genuinely. And I get it. This is the questions that everybody has.
Genuinely.
Right? Here's a couple of things that aren't true. We didn't waste a month. I've come on, the stupid camera. I'm moving around. I'm too agitated at the moment. But we didn't waste a month, guys. You're not sitting there working on one player for a month, not talking with other people. It's not true. We didn't waste any time. We wasted however many hours we spent on the phone working on a deal. Okay, so what? You know, we didn't waste a month. We haven't been waiting to do deals for a month. You know what I mean? We haven't been waiting on everything for a month. We haven't been held up by Mateus Fernandes.
Midfielder. Alex Scott cannot partner Cobby. It's Tchouameni or bust.
I mean, Tchouameni would be amazing, but I disagree on the Alex Scott take. He'd be a better fit than Mateus anyway for partnering Cobby Mainoo. You know, the point is that none of the, you know, look at our targets during this period of time. Is Tchouameni gone? Has he been sold? Or has it been totally decided yet? Nope. Has Alex Scott been sold? Nope. Has Buwadi been sold? Nope. Has Nemcha been sold? Nope. None of this has been sold. None of this has actually happened yet. We don't waste time. Like, guys, This is Mateus Fernandes. A month ago, 2 months ago, everybody was saying 40 million. It's a relegated player.
We're not getting taken advantage of now. Any link to him choosing Spurs and the Athletic steam locomotive emoji report coming on the same day?
I think that is certainly a something to think about. Bring me Tchouameni or Baleba. Fuck it, both. Yeah. If we don't get... Okay, hold on, it's going to read it. If we don't get Tchouameni...
Yep. Can't get Scott for less than 80 meters, then what? Bid 100 meters for Baleba?
No, I mean, these are just assumptions. Guys.
Don't win titles.
I get your frustration. You can...
Targets.
Well, that's not necessarily true, by the way. You'd be surprised at how many clubs ended up on their third, fourth, fifth, sixth choices at the end of the day. Apparently, some of the reports there on Mateus Fernandes on the wages are 250,000 a week as well. Let's see. We'll see where those numbers are coming from at the moment. But yeah, 85 million pounds.
85 meters or 250k/week.
Of course he's not. Of course he's not. You know, but again, this is the hype. 2 months ago, Mateus Fernandes was a decent young player with good potential. Over the last month, he's turned into the next Yamal. He's Yamal now. Yamal Fernandes. That's what he is now. That's what he's become. It's madness. It's insane. I'm sorry, but it's insane. You know? It's insane. It just is. I'm sorry, this isn't the case. And people are going nuts over the whole thing. Seriously. You know, they're going crazy over this whole situation. You know, I'm sorry, but it's not. This isn't a player that is worth that. And saying, well, he went for that, so now we have to do something else it's just not, man. He's a good young midfielder. Okay, move on. There are more midfielders out there. And frankly, if a player wanted to join Spurs over us, good luck.
Wow.
Good luck, man.
Over a player. Smiley face emoji. Smiley face emoji.
Right. I mean, look, the reality is, dude, we've talked so much about culture. We've talked so much about people wanting to be at United. We've talked so much about all of this stuff. If a guy wants to join Spurs for money, good for him. That's fine. Good luck. Good luck. Honestly, that is how I feel, and I've felt for quite a while. You know?
You're absolutely right. It's madness. He doesn't even fit cleanly with Bruno and
Correct.
Manu. They
Correct.
Totally ran through.
Correct. Yep.
Mendes is an amazing agent man. Great business for his
Mendes
player.
gets paid.
Yay, this isn't wasted time. They are obviously talking to multiple players at the same time. Fans need to calm down.
Look, I'm not going to argue and change people's minds too much. I mean, I am going to argue, and I am going to attempt to change people's minds. But, so what I just said isn't true. But all I'm saying is this. I get it. People are going to have different perspectives. People are going to melt down on it. People are going to do all that. But I spent this whole week talking about this once again. When we were just throwing money at the problem, everybody freaked out.
Spurs are not an easy club to deal with as sellers, so he could be stuck there.
Correct. Exactly that.
Spurs ruining their finances, trying to overcorrect, and they might be fucking themselves over more by doing so with a manager who will walk in 2 years.
Agreed. They're doing what we did with Ten Hag. Bring in a manager, a hyped, guy who's Mr. Tactics and Mr. This and Mr. That, and just throw gobs and gobs and gobs of money at the problem. Overpay for everybody. Do everything for everybody. Like, we did this with Højlund. We did this with Højlund, right? We overpaid 25 million because he was a great young player. We had to beat everyone to him. Ten Hag needs a striker, back the manager, show some ambition. And we all celebrate. Me too. Then we did it with Onana. We're moving on from De Gea. We're getting Champions League finalist keeper who they got for free last year, and we paid 65 million for him. We all celebrated. We did it with Anthony. We did it with everybody. Spurs are doing the same thing. Spurs are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. There's no planning here. They have no idea what they're doing. You know, they have no idea what they're doing. And if they want to throw money at it, fine. And the reality of it for me is that I don't care. If a player wants to choose Spurs over United at this point after the last few years, good luck, man. Good luck. Ambition is not just throwing money at the problem. That's not what it is. Was it ambition when PSG bought Messi, Mbappe, Neymar all together, spent over £1.5 billion, and what? And what happened? What was the outcome? Nothing. But it was ambition. It was ambition. And then they sold them all, dumped all the high wages, got a bunch of different young players from around the league, around Europe, players who people wouldn't have taken. Dembele, who United fans were extremely against when we were linked to him at the time, who has now won a Ballon d'Or. Or is he going to win a Ballon d'Or? I don't remember. Regardless, they've done amazing things since then by doing the exact opposite because they found a plan and stuck to it. We have to have a plan. But I've said this before. People weren't ready. People aren't ready for this out there in the world. People aren't ready for this, for United to actually operate correctly. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what it looks like. Genuinely. We just don't know what it looks like. You know, as soon as we for years, we were going hire a director, hire a top director, hire executives, hire football people, listen to them, get a structure in place. We put a structure in place, ignore them, spend the money on what the fans want, ignore them, spend the money on what the fans want. Come on, man. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Who's the next version of Anderson? Fernandes we're looking at with the assumption Fernandes was the alternative to Anderson.
Well, he wasn't, though. I mean, this is part of it. Fernandes is a similar player in that sense, but he wasn't even the alternative. You know, the plan was to buy mid-tier, you know, the top alternatives are Tchouameni, Wharton, Tonali, Anderson. Well, Tchouameni is on the table. Okay? He's there. It's being stated that he's available. That was always the alternative to the top choice player.
We can finally move forward. Please, James, don't get upset, and may God help you through all these distractions until we sign the next player. Impossible to just imagine that the Real Madrid will not ask 100M for Tchouameni.
So we'll pay it. Okay. So we'll pay it. And so we'll pay it because we rate Tchouameni much higher.
Well, their midfield will formidable though.
Their midfield will be good with all of those players, but fair enough. Then what happens when it doesn't work out? You know, CMC said you can't pay for an 85 million rotation player. And I agree. I think he would have ended up being rotation because I've raised the concerns about his fit. And that's why United didn't have him at the top of their list. Our marquee players are players they felt would sign and start immediately. Okay? You have to bear in mind the way that we're thinking about the midfield plan. Matheus Fernandes was not, going into summer, supposed to be the main signing and starter. He wasn't. He never was. We wanted to get one guy that we would for sure have that can start next to Kobe and Bruno. On that list was Anderson, Tonali, and Tchouameni as the three main targets. Those are the guys who we believe are there that can definitely fit next to those two players best. Those are the top targets for the window. Tchouameni is still there. Okay? And Tchouameni is potentially available. Alex Scott, Matheus Fernandes, these other players, other alternatives, were often in the middle. Ederson, players that you wanted to sign at a good price that were going to grow, that were going to be in rotation, that were going to be in the rest of it. And there's more options on the table. I mean, if we look at it, Felix Nemcha, been linked by The Athletic as well right now.
Is irrelevant when RDZ implodes.
Of course, totally. I agree too. I agree too. Wharton, Wharton is another player that has been considered for some time. But there's other options. Like I say, there's Nemcha now on the table in terms of I don't know that one whether he'll actually be sold this summer, but obviously the interest is there. If he were to push for a move, he does have a release clause next summer of 80 to 80 to 90 million euros or something like that. But so it'll be a little higher than that, but that's okay. Alex Scott is a good young player that I've mentioned many times over the last few weeks. They've kept up on, they've been interested in, they're watching, they're keeping, that they've been talking and considering that when he comes back, then they can look to potentially making an offer there. We have alternatives out here, frankly, and I think it's obviously no coincidence that Tchouameni becomes sort of available right around the same time as this. In the Athletic sheet this morning is talking about it. No, he's not.
No need to sugarcoat. Whoever you get is gonna be huge money. Ineos are chumps looking for a deal. The other options are not as good, not the right fit, just as expensive, or unattainable.
Nope. I'm sorry, but it's just not true. Again, it's all coming down to, and look, the majority of people agree. 707 votes, 73% say it's the right call. So obviously there's going to be a lot of people who are loudly irritated by it, while the majority are happy with the situation and that we walked away from it. But the reality is that if United rated Matheus Fernandes at that level, then they would have bought him, but they don't. So they didn't. It's that simple. If they rated him at that level, then they would have paid for him, but they don't. Just because you do doesn't make it right.
Need to hear movements today on other midfielders.
It's like it's not up to you. We have a football department for a reason. We have a football department so we can listen to them. We have a football department so we can do what they say. We have scouts, data, everything that we've built so that we can actually do things in accord with what they want, with what they suggest, with what they say is the plan. Otherwise, we're just running off of one dude's opinion again. We might as well go back. Joel Glazer running the club off Football Manager. Murtaugh just buying who Ten Hag wants. We've done this for years. We've done it for years, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, dude. The club have to be listened to, the departments and the people that they set up. Nope, they were not the one. Nope. Disingenuous. Nope, not the department who got Xerxes and Ugarte. That was literally the old people in place. These people were not in the club at that point in time. Period. It's that simple. It's completely disingenuous to suggest that. It's not even close to the same people. Vivell wasn't here. Wilcox wasn't even a director. Omar wasn't here. Ten Hag still had a veto on a situation. It was entirely different. They had absolutely no time in it, and that was all the same summer. Sangare from Lens. I mean, you saw the links, 35 million at the time. Every deal that people want to talk about is before. It's a different football club. We've spent 2 years building data, departments, scouting, changing people, putting everything into place, all of that. Okay, let's go. Here's another option. Buwadi. I think Buwadi's better than Matheus Fernandes. I think Buwadi is probably going to be a better fit, certainly. He's faster. He's quicker. He's more stable as a number 6. He's more experienced in that position. I think Buwadi is a better option. If tomorrow they bought Buwadi for £80 million, I would think it's a better deal than paying $85 million for Matheus Fernandes. Personally,
the logic of how we're operating makes total sense. It's just kinda tedious, lol.
Yeah, correct. Correct. It is tedious and it is frustrating. But you know what? Discipline is annoying. Discipline is frustrating.
Is Scott, Tchouameni, Edison good enough to really give us a bigger boost in quality to at least go far in the CL and maintain UCL qualification?
Easy. Easy, yes. Scott, Tchouameni, and Edison would be insane by the end of it.
To spend on Tchouameni.
Yeah.
That makes more sense for that kind of money. The Mateos deal is near on what we spent on Pogba and he's not that level.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And you're going to talk about the extra 20 million you're not going to hear about that goes to Georgia Mendes for getting the deal done. You know, there's a lot. It's that deal is going to be £170 million outlay for Mateus Fernandes. Double relegated, mediocre player who is not as good as people say he is yet. And I don't think he'll become one. I don't think he'll become that good, frankly, because as you move into the types of decisions on a career path that he's taking, going to Spurs, all that, good luck. Good luck to him. Honestly, good luck to him. That is a disgusting amount of money for a young player that is not worth it at this point in time and is not that good yet. And that's why they didn't pay for it. Good luck. Honestly. You know, even Arsenal were in at that price. Arsenal walked away the moment the price was over. You guys know that Arsenal walked away the moment the price was over 65 million. They walked. Said, nah, we're not having any of that. PSG walked the moment the price was over 60 to 65 million. Madrid walked away from it because of the price. Everybody walked away from it because of the price except Spurs. Okay. Move on, man. You know, move on. You know, I remember this about Delap last year. You know, I remember all of this. We'll see, man. We'll see what happens. We'll come back to it in a year. You know, he's a good player, but he's not nearly as good yet as people are making out. And it is an enormous, enormous, enormous amount of money for a player who's just not that good yet. So for me, I'm quite happy with it. I overcorrected there on saying he's mediocre. I don't know. I think he is as a 6. In the position he would have been playing at the club, I think he's actually mediocre at this point. Average or below as a number 6. If you stuck him in that midfield to partner Kobe and Bruno, mediocre. Yeah. I think he wasn't the main target to start in this midfield at the start of summer. He wasn't. He wasn't the guy that was going to be there to play next to
Come on, James. I agree
Kobe
with
and them.
Walking away from Fernandes, but some of what you're saying is cope.
Maybe.
He won't be a good player.
No, he'll be a good player. But he's not yet that good. And he wasn't the right fit in general for that amount of money. For that position that we would have needed him in. Because when you spend that, he's the guy, you know? When you spend that kind of money, he has to be the guy, you understand? Relative to price, I think it's a bad deal. It is what it is. If you didn't have Kobe Mainoo, Mateus Fernandes would be worth more money to us. And you'd still need to buy someone next to him, right? But we do. If you didn't have Bruno Fernandes, Mateus Fernandes would be worth more money to us. But we do. You're finding a starting partner for people next to him. But hey, whatever, man. Last year, Palhinha was named as the best signing of the entire summer by The Athletic. Okay. Another Spurs player. Last year, same time of year, I remember United melting down, fans melting down about Spurs' ambition, and they finished 17th again. Good luck, man. Good luck. It's okay. I'm cool with it. I've been warning this for a month, and I've never rated him as high as a lot of people in chat do. But if you did, then I understand why it bothers you. But correct, 85 million is not for a player who isn't there yet, man. It just isn't. And if you say, well, Scott's going to be 85 million, all right, well, then you don't buy him.
Price booms now.
You don't buy him, and you go to the next guy. You know, you move beyond him to the next guy. You go out. of the Premier League and you go get different players. You know, it is what it is, man. The total transfer cost is 150 million pounds plus agent fees. That's more than everybody on the PSG roster. More than they paid for Kvaratskhelia, who's 3 times the player. More than they paid for Neves. More than they paid for any of them. Okay? It ain't worth it. We need to let it go. And it's gone.
We do well in getting Spurs to waste money, so they can't compete for the players.
Yeah, look, I mean, with the amount that Spurs paid, I'm, you know, good luck. The price is high. In the Athletic deal sheet this morning, it says another priority is to offload a midfielder. The preference is for Eduardo Camavinga to leave, but those close to him insist it is impossible and are confident he will turn things down. He has a contract till 2029, so 3 more years. Given this situation, Madrid would be open to offers. Are we ignoring this? Are we just going to ignore this? Are we just going to be ignoring this? Madrid would be open to offers for 26-year-old France international Aurelien Tchouameni, whose deal runs until 2028. The Athletic has previously reported that he's a player Manchester United like. Are we ignoring this? That the same day we are once again getting it repeated and stated by The Athletic in the same deal sheets from the same outlet that broke this news that Madrid are open to offers for France international Aurelien Tchouameni. That he's a player United would like. That, as Andy Minton also reported and others reported, he is, he'd be very much open to the move to United. There's options. Now listen for a second. Let me make something very, very clear. If he is going to get sold and we are not willing to bid and we are not willing to pay, then we have a different problem on our hands, okay? And I will say, hey, this doesn't make any sense because he is our top target. So, seems good to me, right? If we don't do it, I will join. I will join the meltdown. But I believe that this has been on the table for a while, and I think we've known it. And it's a big part of why we didn't want to overpay on one of these players is that we could get our main target. That's what seems likely. Yeah.
Was talking about secret midfielders from La Liga in like March.
Yeah, but look, I mean, we don't even have to go back to March. Right now he's available. Right now he's a target for United. And right now it's been reported that he would join us. Don't listen to me. I'm talking about tier 1 reports that are out there.
Selling them Enzo, you think they're not going to get involved in the Tchouameni deal has a relationship with Alonso. It's not cut and dry.
Okay, well, if you join Chelsea for a coach, just know you're going to be under a new coach in 12 months' time. And I don't think every player is stupid enough to believe that. I'm not worried about losing to Chelsea. Okay? That's not something I'm worried about. I understand. He's got a relationship to Alonso. Good. And when the coach is gone in a year, because Chelsea are going to sack him in a year and screw it up again, then he will be gone. And he will have joined a shit club on a 9-year contract for nothing.
Shouting, folks, it's really annoying /Marcus.
You know, I'm not worried about it. At all. He wouldn't be joining United for Michael Carrick. He wouldn't be joining United for Michael Carrick. He'd be joining for United. He'd be joining because he's United. He's actually got an affinity for United, first of all. There's a lot of reasons for Tchouameni to join United. I haven't heard that he'd be open to joining Chelsea. They're not in Champions League, are they? He's a Champions League player. We're in Champions League. We have Champions League on offer. We have a starting role immediately available. Now, they might too if there's an Enzo deal there. We have a better project at the moment than Chelsea. Okay. And it's not like they're, their financial situation is not amazing either. So I'm not particularly worried about it at the end of the day. And look, it said, check this out.
I'm a
Um,
believer.
Belieber. You're a believer. Yeah, he's been tapped up for years as well. He's close with
I don't
what's
think
his name? With
United can pull
Mbumo.
of the summer we need.
Okay. Maybe you don't. Oh, I guess it depends what you believe the summer we need is. But yeah, look, if we're going to talk about 85 to 90 million and 250,000 a week, I'm giving it to Tchouameni 50 times before I'm considering giving it to Matheus Fernandes. You know? That's the reality of where we're at. I think we could pull it off. But here's really what it comes down to, okay? We have other targets. We have alternatives. We have known for weeks now that this Matheus Fernandes and West Ham situation was going to be difficult, that West Ham's price was real, that the new influx of funds was real, that Spurs' interest was real, and we made it very, very clear. How many times have I told you on this channel that United would not pay the 80 million? And they were insistent that they wouldn't. And that if Spurs would do it, he was going to be a Spurs player. United know all of this. They know all of this, and they've been working on it otherwise. Okay? They've been working on it otherwise. They've been working on alternatives. They've been working on other deals the whole time. And I gave this warning that this summer was not going to go the way you thought it was, so that you didn't freak out when this happened. But obviously that's useless. You can't prepare people for something they don't want to happen. They'll ignore it. They'll turn a blind eye to it until the end.
Wrap up Tchouameni quickly. We can't wait for weeks. Board needs to be ruthless here. We can't afford sagas. Also, don't think Alex Scott is happening, so who's next?
Yeah, I hope we wrap up Tchouameni too. I think it'd be fantastic. I agree. In terms of time now, we're moving into July. Obviously, it's June 30th, last day of the month. Here, we're moving into July. Players returning in 9 days or something like that. Yeah, we need to get a move on, and we need to make sure that we're getting our next deal done. You know, but that's it. That's it. But look, I can only lead a horse to water. I can't make it drink. Okay, and I feel like I've been leading a horse for a month on this deal, in explaining what's going on with it, and preparing people for the eventuality that we probably weren't going to get him. But it's not a surprise. Now, look, you can be very, very upset about us not getting Matheus Fernandes. Totally fine. Okay? You can do that. I get it. If you think he was worth that kind of money and that's what it is, okay. So what? You know, that's fine. You're fully entitled to that. I don't think that's actually the majority opinion, you know, based on polls and based on everything else.
Do we need France campaign to end for a Cho deal?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. We don't necessarily need the France campaign to end for a Tchouameni deal. You know, and I think what's misleading people is the reports, by the way. I think that's part of the frustrating thing that's going on here. And, you know, like you take Elliot Anderson, and people are going, oh, well, we're still on Elliot Anderson because it's still being reported we're in on Elliot Anderson. And the truth was, it's not like there was anything in it. We were there in case City didn't go and do the deal, that we could be involved in it. It wasn't like stopping us from getting other deals done. It wasn't stopping us from working. It wasn't stopping us from doing anything. Matheus Fernandes has been kind of the same.
Pound backup goalkeeper. I'm not fussed about Fernandes, but they need to show ambition. United talk a big game but fail to deliver.
But they haven't failed to deliver, right? They haven't failed to deliver. They were successful last summer. We turned it around from 15th to 3rd. We got 3 excellent forwards and the best goalkeeper in the league in. They haven't failed to deliver. It's June 30th. It's like we're in like early access and people are saying, why is it not look like 1.0? Man, it's early access. You know what you're getting. If you want to talk about transfers June 30th, you're in early access. You're buying an alpha game. You're playing the beta right now. Don't complain about full release. We're not there. You made the choice to play early access. You're looking at transfers on June 30th. You are 1/3 of the way through the window. Okay? You're 1/3 of the way through the window. This is early access. 1.0 is August 13th. When they deliver, then measure whether they deliver. Until then, it doesn't matter. Until then, it's not a foregone conclusion, So let's see what they get done from here going forward. LeBron James is available. He's definitely a 6. Is he? He is a 6, isn't he? He has worn number 6. I'm not worried about it. Like, I genuinely have not bothered at all about Mateus Fernandes, and I haven't been for some time. I'm going to put this on the screen. We're still going to talk, guys. I'm just going to put this on the screen because I do have the Ivory Coast versus Norway game. We still have a lot to talk about. Don't get me wrong here. Nope. One sec, guys. Here's the time. Boom. All right. I'm just gonna put this up really quick in case you guys are hanging out. Just so you know we're watching the game
feels
too.
Like we spent a month doing the same thing we've been doing since March, yapping to agents.
Yeah, I hear you, but that's what you do through that's generally what transfers are until July. That's genuinely where we're at until July. You know what I mean? I hear you, but it's okay. I mean, I get it. And look, I know it once again that everybody wants deals to get done very quickly. And nobody wants to hear that it's difficult during the World Cup and all of that stuff. I hear that. Last summer, by this point in time, we only had Mateus Cunha in, right? We took us 21 more days to get Mbumo done, and then we got a week more. 2 weeks later we had Šeško. 2 weeks later we had Lamens. A lot of the groundwork can be done, and then things move faster in the later segments too. That's normal.
Hence choosing Spurs.
Probably, and he wants big pay for it. Absolutely does, doesn't he? 3 relegations in a row and a lot of money to get relegated again. But, yeah, look, most of the ground, it's not just agent talks, by the way. We've spoken to multiple clubs at the end of the day. We have spoken to many different clubs. We've maintained a dialogue with Real Madrid. We've had dialogue with Bournemouth. We've had dialogue with, obviously, with West Ham. And not just them, When you hear United have been checking on the prices, inquiries, things like that and everything, they've spoken to clubs. They've spoken to clubs on virtually every single deal at this point. So we've done all sorts of stuff. Reports here, United never felt clear of which club Mateus Fernandes preferred during talks. Mbumo and Cunha were desperate to join United last summer, and United did not have the same feeling with Fernandes. As I said, it was never really the case it was overplayed a bit, unfortunately. The preference for United at this point. So there's that. We've spoken to Dortmund per the deal sheet with regards to Nemcha as well. So no, we've done the vast majority of the work that goes into signing players, which goes for months and months and months, honestly, in the lead ups to deals. This is not like something that happens overnight. It never has been, but, and again, that's where I will reiterate. It's not like they didn't know. It's not like they didn't know that this was happening. It seems like Somerville is becoming a bit of a stronger target there. I do want to talk a little bit about Rashford, and then we'll come back to some of the midfield stuff too. Okay. I'm in the camp that Andy Mitten is in, which I'm happy to be in at this point in time.
Is the Project 28 nonsense? I'd bet the Rada $50,000 we won't win the league by 2028. He wouldn't accept the bet. He's all talk.
I think we'll be competitive by 2028. That's 2 more windows. We still have this whole window. We still have January, and we still have next summer. I mean, so what? It's a goal. I don't know what the I don't even know what being bothered about that is. You know, we're in 3rd place. We're talking about being 2 seasons from winning a title. Why? So what? You know, like, who cares? It's a goal. What, should they have said we're never going to win the league? We don't have a goal? No. You have to start with a goal. No matter what you do, you start with a goal. You've been in a business, you set a goal. Anything that you're trying to accomplish, you set a goal first. If the goal is 2028, cool. Well, they're going to work towards 2028. Who cares? Who cares? We were competitive this year. We weren't that far off. We'll probably be not that far off next year. We have another good window. We'll be there. There's no evidence of us not or getting there. It's a challenge. Winning the league is hard, you know, but I think we're a lot closer than we've been in a long time. A lot closer, you know, but it's a goal. You start with a goal. You know, we finished 15th. We got Šeško, Cunha, and Bumo and Lamens. It's a good window. It's a good window. Every decision has to take you towards that goal. 100%. 100%. Every decision has to take you towards achieving that goal. Not paying for $85 million for a player who isn't ready, who's never played in Champions League, never played in Europe, and has been relegated twice is not necessarily a bad decision towards winning a title. There's very little evidence that Matheus Fernandes is going to win you a title. Please. Please, man. Give me a break with it, especially for that kind of money when it holds you back from spending in other areas that have more problems. You don't know. We don't know if it's right or wrong or anything like that, but certainly I'm not worried about it. Let's talk about Rashford briefly. It was interesting. One thing of note, by the way, that once again, I'm on the victory lap a little bit here today, okay? So I'm taking it. Once again, the Athletic, in their deal sheet, David Ornstein confirming. Let's go for it. Let's go look at it really quick. Confirming this. Here you go. The better news for United is the business they want to execute was never contingent on him departing, and after a period of cost-cutting, the Old Trafford side are in sufficiently robust condition to cope regardless. So, as I said the other day, was it going to stop us from buying 3 mids? Nope. Because, again, United are sticking to the plan. And the plan was move on Manuel Ugarte and replace him. Just because we can't sell him doesn't mean we're not intending to buy another midfielder. It feels kind of bad talking like this when I can see his arm, and this feels kind of bad talking about him. It's very coarse. But anyway, point being, as I shared after it happened, no, it wasn't going to change our intentions. It wasn't going to change our goals. It wasn't going to change our ability to go and get 3 midfielders. We weren't expecting to recoup much from Manuel Ugarte. The shame of the situation is more to do with the fact that it would have been better for all parties for him to move on with his career. We weren't going to recoup a bunch. It wasn't really going to change much, okay? We're still intending to get the 3 midfielders. We're still intending. Again, our plan to build the squad is a big long-term plan that is not influenced by every tiny little thing that happens, and including an injury to a player who wasn't part of those plans, all right? It doesn't happen. It's not a big deal. So we move on from that. Now, within this, there's a few other things that are sort of interesting. Part of the decision-making involves Rashford. He's on course to rejoin the first team group in preseason training next season, and as things stand, will be available for Carrick to utilize. The situation is changeable, of course, but nothing has been firmly decided either way. However, there's openness all around to to integration. They wish to avoid a third loan. However, at the same time, and in the same piece, and if you look at the reports coming out now, you have further links to Somerville, more talk about a left winger, and more leaks coming out today. In addition, you have Andy Mitten, who said this just yesterday. Andy Mitten on Marcus Rashford will play for Manchester United. I've not heard any indication that Rashford will come back and play for Manchester United. From their side, it was put to me that his race has been run at United. You get anyway. Then you get well, there's been talks about reintegration, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So look, the reality is on this deal, a couple of important things. Okay. First of all, United absolutely do not want to be in this position. They've made a big deal about, even though actually I disagree with them a little bit on this, they made a big deal about how, they weren't really comfortable with the whole bomb squad thing from last summer, and that maybe it reduced the value of these players by doing it, right? That maybe talking about these players, bomb squad, they're not going to return, all of that kind of stuff was not good for the situation around. Hang on, this is just distracting me so much. I'm gonna put this back on in a second. It's just distracting me at the moment, but I will put it back. Sorry. They made a big deal about that, that they didn't want to do the bomb squad thing. I would also add that FIFA have changed and adjusted in terms of their rulings. You can't even do a bomb squad anymore. You can't actually even do that. Okay. Like there's actually been changes in terms of, rulings and things like that, where some of the stuff that went on in the past, like Sancho being made to eat with the under 23s and such and dress in his own, it was actually be illegal today. Ten Hag, another criminal, right? No, but seriously, you can't do the bomb squad thing anymore. Player has a contract, they have to be integrated within the team. All right. That's the truth. So when I look at it, I go, here's what makes sense to me, because I'm in the camp of Andy Mitten, and I've shared what I've shared before, which is that I'd be really, really surprised if he came back and played for us for a whole number of reasons. That I don't want to get into, but I just think it's absolutely formally best for all parties for him to leave and play somewhere else. I'm pretty firm of the belief that the intention of all parties is for him to go. However, he's at the World Cup. He's playing for England. He's scoring. There's a lot of hype around the situation right now. We can't do bomb squads, and maybe it's a right idea that we shouldn't, and maybe it did hurt the values. It's the right time to have this be the message around Rashford, that we're open to reintegration, that he's going to rejoin the team because he can and he has to. And that means he will be training with the team. That means he will be in preseason with the team because he has to be. This all has to be done. At the same time, we're pursuing Somerville and looking to shift Rashford. So I firmly believe it is a stronger negotiating position for the club to be in, and they still expect others to come in. Couple of points of information I have on this is that Bayern are definitely interested in Marcus Rashford. He would still have to take a lower wage there. Barcelona, there's still an expectation that they're probably going to come back for him. There's also talk that Rafinha might be leaving. You saw them have talks with Harry Kane. They're still looking for forwards. Lewandowski's gone. Rafinha might be gone. There's an expectation they might come back for him, but they don't want to do another loan. Now, could they budge on that fee a little bit if someone was making the purchase and clearing the wages? Probably. But they want to be in a stronger negotiating position, So if nobody comes in for him, could he be there? Sure. Do I expect it still? Absolutely not. I think it's really, really unlikely for all parties, but I do think that it is I think it's the correct call from a negotiating position to do something on this and to see what happens that comes out on all of this. So we'll have to wait and see. But as we have been before, I think the situation kind of remains the same. So, one sec. So that's where we're at. But like I said, same. My information has always been more in the alignment with Andy Mitten and them. Look, I spoke to Andy. I spoke to others. I spoke to people around the club around the Rashford situation last year. And again, it's just based on everything that I've heard and known, I really can't see it. Okay. I just can't. So I don't know. So, um, yeah. But that's Rashford. Either way, there's more talk, obviously, of Somerville potentially coming up and being a serious option. I quite like him as a backup left winger, alternative to Matheus Cunha. He makes a whole lot of sense. I would imagine that, there's definitely the difficulty in Lewis Hall maybe being unsellable. I don't think that story's totally over for this summer, certainly. But, it's one of those things like he's going to have to come back, speak to the club. He'd have to push for a move. Does it change if Tonali doesn't get sold and Hall becomes much more available now? Could be as well. That one is quite fluid on that front. So, yeah, could other players come back into it? Potentially. But the two most exciting targets to me now are Tchouameni and Buwadi from alternatives from United standpoints. Players that they've been interested, player that they've definitely kept an eye on, players that they've definitely watched. Those are two players that I'm firmly interested in. If Tchouameni is available, I think that United getting it done would be great and would be the best thing for sure. And if they don't go for it or something else, and he is available, then that would be very, very disappointing. Okay, that would be very, very disappointing because he's not going to be 130 million like Elliot Anderson. He's not going to be on at that kind of level. He's a player they value extremely high. I think they would have gone up near 100 million for Elliot Anderson.
Be released, possibly by other journalists once he's actually gone.
Maybe. I don't know. A lot of people might not want to do that. I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly.
Unpopular opinion, but I think Mount might pull a Gravenberch this season and be a real option in the double pivot. He played well with Kobe.
That is definitely going to be an unpopular opinion, and suggesting that Mason Mount is going to play an important role is definitely is definitely an unpopular opinion, and is definitely going to be something that yeah, look, United have pulled rabbits out of hats many, many times in terms of finding big targets. When we didn't have the money for a striker, we pulled Šeško. When we finished 15th and we were looking at Delap and Dibbling, we pulled out Cunha and Mbeumo. Okay. When we thought we were going to spend the season with Onana and Altai, we ended up with the best goalkeeper in the league. So, yeah, I'm keeping the faith, and like I said, if I thought that they had all their eggs in this Matheus basket and they were sure they were going to get him, I would feel differently right now. I get it. I really do understand. I would feel differently at the moment if that were the case. But it's not, man. It's not. They have been working on alternative targets, and they have not been confident that this deal would get done for at least some time. And he was not the top choice going into summer. And he was not a player in the top bracket of targets. He wasn't. Okay? Tchouameni is there. Wharton is still out there. I don't think Brighton are dropping their price for Carlos Baleba now, so we'll still keep that one probably out of sight, out of mind, considering we decided not to go for him for probably a reason. And
we will focus on Hall now.
Depends still on Tonali. I don't think we will focus on Hall. We still want to get the midfield done and sorted out. Okay, but we have the money for 2 more midfielders. Okay. We have the money for 2 more midfielders. They have to be the right players. They have to be the right value. If you get someone like Tchouameni, you could probably even consider Wharton, but he might be very expensive. But he's also valued high. Look, it's a really hard thing to describe.
Why can't people just be honest about Rashford? I am not a hater, and I thought the vitriol H got when he was here were unfair, but
sure.
I think it's absurd that now the other group thinks he does no wrong.
Look, nuance is hard, right? Nuance is very hard, and it sucks. The Rashford story is one of my least favorite things to talk about because everybody will know from before Rashford left that I was one of and have been one of his, he's been one of my favorite players at United. And I still have a huge affinity for Marcus Rashford. But I understand why he left. I thought he got too much hate beforehand, 100%. I understand the reasons that he left, and I don't think he should come back. And while I still like Marcus Rashford,
we need to stop this Prem-proven BS if we can't pay.
I disagree with you on this basis. First of all, listen. Prem-proven, what does that mean? Oh, Nusa, what a goal by Nusa. There's another winger. Nusa, what a goal. Oh my, that's a player right there. Norway, I'm telling you, Norway are good. Nusa and Holland up front are special, man. Nusa is really good. What a goal. What a goal by Nusa. Whew. That's crazy. Nusa, that's a player right there, okay? That's a player right there. If we have another left-wing option, and obviously we've watched him over the years, that's a player right there that I'm thinking about. What a hit. But look, anyway, Prem-proven did not actually mean a player who's been relegated twice that you're going to pay over the odds for, okay? Prem-proven is not the same thing as Cunha and Mbeumo. Cunha was one of the top goal scorers in the league, and Mbeumo was one of the top goal scorers in the league. They were 26, 27 years old. These are players who you know exactly what you're getting when you buy them. You're not buying potential. When you're talking about young players, it's not so much about Prem-proven. You're buying potential no matter what, okay? First of all, who said Prem-proven? Last summer, we bought Šeško from outside. We bought Lammens from outside. We bought Cunha and Mbeumo from within the league. It's not like it's Prem or nothing. Dorgu was from outside the league. Heaven was from Arsenal. It's not Prem or nothing, It's just not. That's not like the thing. We would like to supplement with good value Premier League players who are proven. That's it. We would like that. Players we're sure of. They would have been willing to pay a lot for talent, but the value still has to be there. The value still has to be there, right? You're paying a tax on Prem-proven. If Matheus Fernandes was from France, he'd go for 40 million. This is an 85 million. This is a 45 million pound tax, okay? It's a 45 million pound tax on a player because he's from the Premier League. That is too much. It's just too much. It's just too much. Oh, Holland. Oh, Holland. No way. No way does he not score. What a block. What a block. Holy. That was close. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is there. But we have alternatives. We have other options. We have other players to sign. We have other people we can get. And, we have to just accept that at the end of the day. What's stopping Bournemouth from asking 80 million for Scott? They can. I'll tell you the difference with Bournemouth. Here's the thing. They ask for 80 million for Scott, then he won't be sold. This is why you have to have 7, 8, 9, 10 options on the market. Then he won't be sold. Oh, and again, how did Norway not score? Oh my God. But listen, there is one difference here. First of all, his agent is not Jorge Mendes looking to get a bidding war. Second of all, he has 2 years on his contract left. Okay. Third, the whole play comes down to getting him to sign a new contract with a 75 million release clause. Why do they want to do that? Because they're pretty sure he will be sold at 75 million pounds next summer. Okay. And that's what they want. They want to keep him a year and get 75 million next year. If he doesn't sign a new contract, they know that they're only going to get 40, 45 million next summer. It's a big loss. Okay. So that is essentially the negotiation. Until they speak, until they meet, until he comes back, until further things happen, it's a no-go because Bournemouth are going to try to convince him to sign a new deal with this 75 million release clause. That's what they want. They're going to negotiate a bit. Sorry, Christine. Sorry, I'm ahead a little bit. I should have put the timer back on so people would know. I'll give it a minute. It's about to be halftime, and and then we'll focus on the second half of the match and more explicitly there if you want to stay with the transfer talk and stuff. And I'll keep my mouth shut for the next 5 minutes or so on the game itself. Or I'll do delayed reactions to if anything actually happens. But no, I mean, if so, we'll see on that front. It's not unknown. I don't know. What I do know is that Buwadi is available. I do know that Buwadi is available. I do. We have reports Tchouameni is available. Nemcha, interesting situation there because it's next summer. As far as they are, as far as being reported, excuse me. Next summer, he's supposed to have a release clause of 80 million euros. So they may not be wanting to sell. Maybe, we're hearing the prices from Germany are pretty crazy, 120 million euros. Obviously, they're not going to pay that. But you never know if he's saying, look, I actually do want to go. I actually do want to accept the deal. I actually do want the move to the Premier League. Next year I'm going for 80 million euros. Sell me for 90 million this summer, euros. What's that, 75, 72, something like that. Then maybe a deal happens. Perhaps that's why United are interested in it. So it's an interesting one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would say that this is going to happen necessarily. Or anything like that, obviously. But there's plenty of options out there in the market. Again, all I'm going to say here is, look, nobody knows what United's valuations are on players, but they've established them for a reason. They've established them because that's what makes them either a good signing or a bad signing, or a signing that has far too much risk involved in it. They have those valuations for a reason. They might be willing to pay for a different Premier League player. I told people like a month ago, 2-3 weeks ago, was something they didn't want to hear on this, which is that they think they've got a steal of a deal in Ederson. People are looking and saying, 35 million, and people somehow still saying it's overpriced at 35 million. When you look at the market that's out there, they see it quite the opposite. I think 35 million is a bargain for the player that they've got. His valuation for them is higher than that. His valuation for them is over 50 million. It's just because he had a year left that they were able to get a great deal on it, So people don't rate him? Fine. Whatever, man. The club do. They've hired the people. They've put the team in place. They've done all of that. And, they're going with the people they've appointed to make these kinds of decisions. Same as they have before. So, yeah, we just have to trust on their judgment on this front, because that's why they've hired all these people. That's why they've hired the data team, the scouts, Vivel, everything. Vivel has a huge part to play in the valuations of players. So if you want to sit there and blame Ineos and blame Wilcox and do this, and people want to do this game of, Vivel's our savior and all of this kind of crap, okay, you're welcome, but Vivel is a huge part of that team. Vivel is the head of scouting. That's where the valuations are determined. That's the team that is saying this is what a player is worth. This is what they should be going for. That's it. So us not buying Matheus Fernandes, thank you, Vivel, for setting the stall out and saying this is what he's worth. Don't overpay. He stuck his neck out, by the way, for Benjamin Šeško. Did he? Right? Vivel stuck his neck out for Benjamin Šeško, where the club were, I don't know if we want to pay that much money for him. And Vivel said he's worth it. Pay the money. He's worth it. Pay the money. And they did. They'll pay. If there's a strong enough evidence from the right decision makers in place to pay over, they'll pay. Vivel stuck his neck out, said he's worth that. He's worth that. He's worth that money. Pay him. Get it done. They went forward with it. It was a risk. They trusted in him. Turns out to be a good deal. Turns out to be a good signing. Looks like a great one in the end. Okay. So they have those valuations for a reason. Okay. And they are willing to overpay. They didn't. The club perspective from some other people did not rate Šeško at those numbers, you know? And Vivell did, and, you know, that's that. So we'll see, you know, but they have these people for a reason. They have these people for a reason. You could also say then Vivell could have said spend the money on Fernandes and Anderson. The rest of the board said no. No, but they didn't. Our valuation was lower. To be honest, the Šeško thing is interesting because just to be quite honest about the whole thing, like our valuation on Šeško came mostly from prior scouting, like the whole department that was set up before, right? Because we've been watching him for like 3 or 4 years. Vivell came in, kind of reshook that a bit. And so they were operating on that kind of data where Vivell came, essentially shook, you know, restructuring departments, things like that, brought new data to the table and presented it, and they went with it. So, you know, a year later, with everything established, our valuations are primarily driven by Vivell and in his organization of the team below him in terms of scouts and things like that. But it you know, it's still not about crediting and blaming. I'm just
put a W
whatever.
in the chat. If guys like Sully were engagement farming and now look silly, but a WWW in the chat.
WWW. Wait, what? You're asking for people to do two things that are the same, I think, there, Tubbs, by the way. What the hell? I don't know what you're doing. Anyway, you don't have to spam the chat, please. You don't have to spam the chat, okay? I don't expect people to anyways, but... You've been researching will sit the FIFA agent exams next year? Do it, man. Do it. And get in touch. Šeško was 73 millions, including add-ons and not a striker. Correct. Much more reasonable. So, hey, man. I mean, I'm actually quite, I don't know. How would I put this? I'm happy, honestly. I'm happy at the moment. Because I think we've stuck to our guns on this. I'm also happy that my information was correct.
I'm worried now. Who on earth are we signing?
I don't know, but I still have that strong feeling on Tchouameni. The reason I'm happy that my information is correct, and which will also somewhat answer your question, is because of what I've told you over the last few days, okay? We have alternatives. The club are confident in their ability to get 2 more good midfielders in. It's not going to be affected by Ugarte. They've been working on other deals, and we have other targets. So everything I've told you is true. That means those things are true too. And that means I believe what I've said. It means I have more evidence to believe what I've said. You know, more evidence to believe that, you know, that they are doing these things. You know, that they're getting these deals done. That they have the alternatives lined up. That they have... You know, all of that, right? I have that confidence. Honestly, I am relaxed. I wish I could say that I wasn't. I wish I could get irritated right now, but I'm telling you, man, I'm enjoying the World Cup. I know it's slowing things down, and I'm relaxed. I think that United are going to do great in this market. I think we're going to reach the end of summer and go, what was all the fuss about? What was all the fuss about? Seriously, what was all the fuss about? And maybe that's Tchouameni. Maybe that's Tchouameni coming in. You know what I mean? I will be so calm if we get that deal done, honestly. You think I don't care that much? Nah, man. If you follow me, I do this shit every single day for hours. I live and breathe this football club through the season. It's you don't understand what it's like if you don't do this for like a job, to follow this club when it's crap, to follow this club when it's bad, to make videos, to to wake up at 5 a.m. for games, for things like that when this club sucks, when it's bad. It's soul destroying, man. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. I care a lot, but I just have a different perspective on what will get us back to successful. What will get us back there. And I've had that different perspective for a long time. And it's part of what this whole channel has been all about, honestly, at the end of the day. Has been to be something different, because I could do the same thing as everybody else. I can sit here and scream and yell and cry and bitch and moan and say, spend the money, 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 spend the money. People have been doing that for 10 years since I've been watching people on YouTube and following transfers. Every club has it, every fan channel the same. I'm no insults to the guys on United View and stuff, because their kind of content's a bit different to that, and Paddock do their things and whatnot. But it'd be very easy to do that. But that's not the point. I've been dying for this club to operate the way that it's operating right now. When they weren't doing it, I raised those red flags while supporting, while being happy, while celebrating, while hoping for the best. You know what I mean? When Ten Hag came in, when we spent that crazy amount of money on all these players, I remember raising those red flags and saying, guys, this might not be a good idea, just spending the money.
Opinion, but we should have paid this much
fee
and this much salary for Mateus. This is a money-driven move, and we do not need such players.
I think you said we should not have paid, right? But I don't think it's actually an unpopular opinion. I think that is actually where most people are at, too. Money-driven move. I think you meant shouldn't have, but yeah. No, I got what you said. By the context. But look, I've been wanting the club to operate this way for a long, long time. Which is to buy the right players, not just spend the most money. Spending the most money does not guarantee success for us. It hasn't guaranteed success for a lot of clubs. I understand that City are, to a degree, the outlier in this, where they've spent enormous amounts of money for such a long time and won a lot of titles. But at the same time, I'm sorry to say, nobody else can do that. City will never be, for me, the standard setter. I've said before, I don't give a shit if City win titles. I don't really care what they do, to be honest. As long as that 115 is hanging over there, I'm looking and saying they did what nobody else could by breaking the rules that nobody else was willing to do. Cheat, lie, falsify things, allegedly. All of this, allegedly. Nobody can compete with that. Nobody can compete with that. I'm sorry, but if you have to do that to get by, so what? That's not my standard setter. When you compare the rest of the clubs that have managed to win titles and get things done over the years, then, it's not always about spending the most money. Liverpool got there without it. Arsenal got there without it. They've spent, don't get me wrong, they've bought the right players and the right targets and the right people. Because building a squad of like-minded individuals, fixing the culture, and having alignment and a real team together with matching profiles and everything is just good. It's what needs to be done. Spurs following suit, and they've been doing it for some time. They were, the last time Spurs were good was under Pochettino, right? 7 years ago. It's been a massive fall off since then. It's been a massive fall off since then. And end of the day, you know, that was when they had a plan. They had a sporting director and a coach and alignment, and they were going down the right route. Since then, it's just been chaos. This is just their next chaos. They're just going to dump more and more and more money. Arsenal dropped 100 million on Rice, and he was pretty much guaranteed to succeed. Fernandes, who knows? Yeah, and I'm totally for the club doing a big deal at the moment when we're ready, and it's the perfect thing, and it's the right deal, and it's one they're sure is going to take us to the next level. The cherry on top. You know, that guy. Rice was obviously that guy for Arsenal. Mateus Fernandes isn't that guy, man, for us. We're not at a stage where we can say, yep, 85 million on that guy is the leap to a title. You know, I don't believe for half a second that 85 million on Mateus Fernandes actually closes the gap between us and Arsenal and City. You know who I do believe does that is Tchouameni. I think that's one that they should pay as much as they can for. I think adding Tchouameni to a midfield of Kabi and Bruno closes the gap. I think it actually does. I think it makes a huge difference. I think it gives us one of the best midfields in the league. If not the best on paper, starting midfield in the league. For that, I will hope they will be willing to pay. For that, I wouldn't be happy if they actually turned away from the deal because, you know, if the wages were 200,000 or 250,000 or something, we should pay that, you know? You know, that would make sense to me if he becomes available. But no, Mateus Fernandes, not at that price. Otherwise, we still have a lot to build. We still have a lot to do. We still have a lot of business to get done. And again, we have the money for multiple midfielders. We have the money for multiple players. Buwadi on his own doesn't. No, I think he's a very good young player, personally. I rate him higher. There's not a lot of, you know, your Rices and Tchouamenis out there, so it's not like that's all you can do. But, you know, that doesn't mean you go over the top for everything else. If Fernandes was, I don't know why this didn't read out, but if Fernandes was unsure about United or Spurs, then I'm glad he joined Spurs. He clearly doesn't have the minerals or character to play for us. Well, that's, to me, I very much agree with on that sense, which is that, you know, I just agree with that. I really do. I totally agree on that front, which is that, you know, if the decision at the end of the day was just money, then so be it. You know what I mean? If that's it, then that's it. You know, if that's what's going to make the call between United and Spurs, then all right, man. Gotta hit the panic button. The level-headedness is so boring. I'm sorry. I know. That's me. Boring old guy. James Ducker says we have interest in a host of other midfielders, including Aurelien Tchouameni, Carlos Baleba, and Alex Scott. So yeah, there you go. That's all that's in there. Okay. So everybody's talking. Here's the thing. All right. Here's the thing. The Athletic saying we're interested in Tchouameni. Ducker interested in Tchouameni. Simon Stone interested in Tchouameni. Andy Minton interested in Tchouameni. Everybody says we're interested in Tchouameni. And Madrid are reporting that he's available. What am I missing here? Or are we not just very clearly going to turn our attentions to signing Tchouameni? Am I missing something? Like, forget my own info or anything like that. Like, when you read all of this stuff, are we not just going to go for Tchouameni? Like, is it not just blatantly obvious that we're going for Tchouameni? It feels like it, right? Like, everything says that he's... You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems rather obvious. But he's at the World Cup right now, you know. Alex Scott is also definitely a serious target, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, Alex Scott is for sure a serious target. Yeah, Alex Scott is definitely a serious. Sky say Fernandes preference unclear during transfer talks. Tottenham agreed a deal to sign Manchester United. United push for player, but will only buy players at the right valuation. They want players who really want to play, and his preference was not clear. They will remain patient by the right targets at the right price.
Madrid don't want to pay Chelsea's asking price for Enzo.
Sure.
Tchouameni won't leave if they don't get a midfielder.
They have other options, though.
Waiting.
They have other options. I mean, it's in the thing, right? In the same piece, they have other options in the midfield, including Buati as another player that they might want to buy. Man United and Arsenal in 2-horse race for Scott's signature. Bournemouth would rather he stay. Somerville on United's radar. Emerging as leaving left-wing target. Yeah. So I don't want to beat a dead horse anymore on this, okay? I'll just tell you what I've told you before, which is that United have alternatives. They've been working on the alternatives. They have not been confident in Mateus Fernandes signing for us for some time. And at least since the Spurs entrance, even the West Ham situation confounded it even then. And they're working on it. And I think Tchouameni is a viable option. I think they believe Scott is a viable option. And yeah, but they're not in like panic stations at all. I know that's what people want to do right now, but that's it. So Tchouameni and Scott are definitely the two that I'm keeping my eyes on most of all. Alex Scott is likely not going to move forward until he returns to training. That's in a week or so. Tchouameni, it could move a little bit over the next few days. I do think United will act and on the next deal soonish as well. They won't want to sit on this. And I mean, move further forward in act. If Nemcha's a target, he's just returned from, obviously, the World Cup being over, but he'll be on holiday for a little bit. So we'll see if they make some further contacts to Dortmund to check on that a little or anything. But yeah, that's where we are today. Same as we were yesterday, to be quite honest. Besides the fact that now we know for sure Spurs have made their bid, and they were serious. It wasn't a bluff. They made their bid, and now we put that one to rest and fully turn our attentions to these other signings. And look, you can engage in your views and opinions, and they can be negative, they can be whatever in terms of what you think is going to happen next, but we're working on it. And the club are still confident and have been of getting a good deal done. So that's it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Again, I've said what I needed to say over the last few weeks in preparation for this, so that if you're willing to listen, you wouldn't be worried about it. Be angry, that's fine. Let it out, but I'm not bothered at the moment. All right, there's the poll at the end of the day. 1,300 votes, 75% right call, 5% big miss. By the way, please do drop a like on the video while you're here as well. It makes a huge difference to me. A huge difference to me and the channel and all of that when you guys are here. Once again, I say, look, we're in early access right now. We're in early access. Give it a bit of time. Give it a bit of time. This isn't the end of summer. If it was as good as last summer, we will only get our second one in 3 weeks from now. I'm not saying we should wait that long. I will be worried before then. But certainly there's still plenty of time to improve. There's still plenty of time for things to get a lot better. So, still plenty of time to get other deals done. Let's see what comes next. Be it Tchouameni, Scott, whatever. Let's see which one they move for. Okay? All right. Let's turn over to the game here. I think I have to fix my timer because I screwed it up. While I was sitting here. Let's turn to the game. Where is it? Time. It's not that time that's on the screen. Don't worry. Oh. There we go. All right. I've got my timer set up. We're watching Norway versus Ivory Coast now and hanging out for the second half here. On preseason in a week, we have 0 midfielders. What do you mean? We've got Mason Mount. No, I am a little bit bothered by how we have no midfielders. But Orozco is, well, no. I'm not allowed to say that, right? No, look, I do think it's not great that we don't have midfielders for this early preseason, but you know, given it's the World Cup, yeah, that does affect a lot of teams. It does worry me a bit because we're in a little bit of a different situation, team perspective wise, to other teams that are out there, and we need more time to train. We need more time to work on things than some of them do, but yeah, so it does bother me a little. It's not the best that we don't have a good core of players for Carrick there. We're still gonna have 9 players in the World Cup. Maybe one less if Ahmad gets eliminated now. But yeah, realistically, it's gonna be August 1st, or probably realistically August 1st or last week of July before most of our senior players are back. In terms of starters, that's Bruno, Cobby, Cunha, Dallo, Lamens. Well, Belgium could get eliminated a bit sooner. So we're going to be down the majority of our team. Well, we'll have Sheshko and Bumo. We'll have enough players to play decent, but the midfield is a little low. Yeah. But it would be nice. Scott will be available. Scott is available. Buwadi and Tchouameni wouldn't be anyway. So that doesn't really matter, does it? Scott's kind of the only real main name here that is actually available now that we could bring in. Yeah, Mazraoui's still gone, you know. I think Scott's actually our only like serious target at the moment that we could. Somerville will be a few weeks, but Somerville for left wing. But in terms of the midfield, Scott's like the only guy that could even join our preseason right now. Everybody else that we're talking about here is away, isn't it? Hall is back. Yeah, that's true. Nemcho is knocked out. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting one. See with Norway here. Overlap. Tottenham's wage bill must be crazy. Yeah, I mean, they're probably spending just absurd amounts of money right now. Mateus Rage, really 250K. Do you know there's any truth to that? By all accounts and everything I've heard, it's a lot. They might be accounting for a significant bonus coming in, of which how much does Georgia Mendes get? I don't know. But it's a lot. Like a lot more than United would be giving to a player of his. Ooh. Pepe almost scores there. Then United would be giving to a player of his, like, not, what's the word for it? Experience, caliber. You're talking about significantly more than the deal Kobbie Mainoo just got. It's more than Mbumo, more than Cunha, more than these guys. And that is another issue in it, you know. And again, it was for the money. Cunha and Mbumo both chose United over deals offering them more money. So did Šeško. Like I said, in the tough moments, especially for a young player, if you're not going for the money, then I mean, if you're going for the money, then when the going gets tough, you don't have much to fall back on in those moments to fight through the criticism and things. You remember Barada saying they didn't sign Maguire because of the fee. Yeah, like I said before, Barada was a huge part of City building the juggernaut that they built. You know, from a football decision standpoint, regardless of what they did financially, cheating, spending more money, cheating. In terms of the actual deals, signings and stuff, obviously the football people still accomplished something with the resources they were given because we spent more and did way worse. So clearly they were competent in that respect. And it was not just throwing tons of money at everybody. They were very discerning about who they bought. The perfect stepping stone for a Mendes client. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, he's got good relationships then with PSG. Oof. Ivory Coast are creating some big chances here. Sangari, love Alex Scott, but then there's Sangari. A lot of people like Sangari. At the end of the day, we will end up having a laugh if Mateus Fernandes does flop. He will be put under the microscope knowing he's an 85 million player we asked to deliver from day one. Indeed. Yeah, Fernandes has to become world class. No doubt. Look, Spurs are going all in. Fair enough to them. You know, they're going all in on De Zerbi. Okay. They have to after nearly being relegated. I get it. The stadium, the stuff that's going on, they have to, right? Okay, we'll see how it works, man. Scott and Tchouameni for me would be perfect. If we get Tchouameni, I genuinely don't care about the third. You get Tchouameni and Sanderberg, I'd be happy, honestly. For me, Tchouameni solves so many problems, just so much, that with experience, with everything he has, I'm just completely unconcerned following that about who the third one is. But Scott would be fantastic. Oof. Norway almost score again here. He won't get the criticism at Spurs? No, he won't. I mean, that's part of it too, you know. You can get away with a little bit more at other clubs that you can at United, and United are well aware of that too. But I still don't think Still, it's going to be difficult for him to live up to that. Oh, that was maybe a handball, you know. Oh, is it on the attacking player? Never mind. Fair enough. Where's the creativity with Ederson? What do you mean? You have Bruno Fernandes, Kobe Mainu. You're unlocking them to go forward with a lot of those moves. Ederson is also pretty competent, and Sandberg is quite a good passer as well. Who's our focus moving forward? Like I said, I firmly believe Tchouameni is if you look at all the evidence, I don't see how it wouldn't be Tchouameni, you know. But Alex Scott has been somebody United have been keeping a lot of contacts on as well. Tchouameni is a situation we can't control. It just depends if Madrid want to sell. I'm just saying it keeps being reported now that they're open from their top reporters. So I'm assuming that's true. Like, I have no reason to doubt Cortegana. You know what I mean? I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess that's my question is, like, what reason do we have to doubt that he's available now? You know, that I agree with you. That is out of our control to some respect, and that's why it hasn't been necessarily there. But if it's being reported that he's available, then he's available, you know? Why is Fab still pushing this wage thing? Let's see what happens after Mateus is now done. Has Fabrizio said anything yet? I haven't. Did he do a video? Did he talk about Tchouameni since then? Because I've had my suspicions about the Mendes deal, and I was going to say that, and for me, it's like, we'll see now, you know, because it's very easy to now say, but, you know, following, you know, United not getting Mateus Fernandes, they've been adjusting their strategy, and now they're willing to buy Tchouameni. You know what I mean? Like, that could always happen. Could always happen. You know, it's very easy to have a new report. He said it in a video from 5 minutes ago. I don't know, man. I don't understand that at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it. Nobody else has even hinted at that, so I don't know. I don't even know. It doesn't even particularly make sense. I mean, his wages are less than what Fernandes is getting. It just does that part just makes absolutely no sense. I have no explanation for this thing about not wanting to pay Tchouameni's wages. I can't explain that. It doesn't actually make any sense. Unless it is to say he's taking a wage cut. You know what I mean? That he's coming to United for less money, like Casemiro, following in the footsteps of the Real Madrid legends. You know what I mean? I could see that. I don't think it's that far-fetched, to be quite honest, that narrative to be built. You know, we look at it like oh my God, Holland almost in. We look at it like a negative, but it could be the opposite. Who knows? Or it could be he's made it clear he would love to join United, and so that they've, you know, there's lots of ways that this can all change. Kiss the badge. What if we spend the same amount of money we spent on Tchouameni that we refused to spend on Fernandes? Sweet. Sweet. Great. Be extremely happy. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Tchouameni and Scott become the clear alternatives here now. That we'll work on. The Nemcha reports are interesting to me, and they're very interesting to me because it's like we've had interest, all of that. Could he be available? Could he be affordable? Big questions there. So it is interesting, but Scott, there's been definitely more work done on, and Tchouameni there as well. So those are the two I'm thinking about next for the most part. How do I need to update the site to put this. Update Mateus. Dead. Add an editor's note. All right. There's Fernandes. 0% probability. It's Jover for him. Okay. Updating some of the stuff. Okay, we have that report. What else have we got? Oh my God. How did they not score? Off the line. How, man? Somerville leading left-wing target. There's some news. Would it be a tactic to get Madrid to reduce his price? It could be. There could be lots of things associated with this. Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I'm not willing to just immediately just say something is. I'm not going to make assumptions too much. It's just, it doesn't particularly make sense to me. And when things don't make sense, I want to know why do they not make sense.
Missed the start, can't say I not gutted. I just wonder what not. I like Scott but surely the same price. Chu is great, but again, will he leave?
Good questions. Yeah. Will Scott be the same price? I think the contract situation gives a little more leverage there. If he's the same price, I don't think they'll pay it. Will he leave? Well, that's what we've been kind of debating here. So, you know what I mean? We've been debating that, and that's all we have to go off of is the reports from The Athletic, which say he will be available. So, at the moment, we can make that assumption. There's Somerville, some Somerville news. Tchouameni's the dream. You missing something here? Yes, Smokey. Because certain people are putting out, I can't believe, stuff about can't believe people are backing the owners not spending money. It's always such a, Some people cannot avoid the complete disingenuous discussion here. They can't. You've got to turn the whole decision into being cheap so you can push an agenda. And once people do that, people buy into that. That the reason we haven't bought him has to be turned into an agenda about cheapness. They didn't buy him because they don't rate him at that price. That fucking simple, man. If you go to McDonald's for a cheeseburger and they tell you it's $30 for a cheeseburger now, you're not being cheap by not paying the $30 for the cheeseburger. You're not paying $30 because it's a cheeseburger from McDonald's. It's not worth $30. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You weren't intending to go to McDonald's to pay $30 for a cheeseburger. Like, that's that simple. I don't care who you are or how much money you have. It doesn't make any sense. If I'm going to spend $30, I'll go somewhere else. Get a cheeseburger that's worth it. At least it's got to be worth $25. You know? It's truly that simple. You know, if my wife tells me she wants a new purse and it's a Louis Vuitton knockoff, but it's got Louis Vuitton prices, I'm not doing it. If it's real, I'm still not doing it, but at least it's worth the money. At least it's the right value. But I didn't not do it because I'm cheap. You see him. Cheapskate. Oh, I don't have any more of them, unfortunately. I don't have any more. You do have someone from this game. Holland. Blink. Keep saying salary is an issue. I don't know what that means, honestly. I genuinely have no idea what that means. But we'll see if that narrative changes to something else later, you know what I mean? It's always possible. No, I genuinely don't understand that part, so I don't know. Ahmad! Ahmad! That's why you play Ahmad. Ahmad! It's Amarinho. Better than Diomande. Better than Diomande. What a goal, too. That's so classic from him. The 1-2 touch and go. Dribble the defenders. Get right in there with a nice little finish. Oh, such a good finish, too. What a goal. What a goal. We've already been... Yeah, I mean, we met with his people a while ago. Yeah. Look, we'll see, man. The thing that... I think the thing that has stood out over these last few days and weeks is that people really don't know. You know? People really don't know what's going on and the specifics and the details. Oh, Odegaard. You suck. Terrible touch from Odegaard. But yeah, I mean, look, the narrative's negative about everybody. Okay, well, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Wages being too high sounds like the simplest problem to solve for me. If indeed it is an issue. I'm not sure I believe it anyway, but... Oh, why did they not pass to Ahmad there? What a terrible pass. I have no idea why that keeps being said. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. His wages are not that high. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I can't explain that. It makes me think there's something more in the narrative, but we will see.
This Wahi brother is trash. Same as Diamond.
Wages are like 200K per week. We could achieve that with bonuses. Yeah, I mean, look, there's always solutions to these kinds of things. You know what I mean? And it's always... we'll just see. We'll see where it lands. We'll see where it ends up. There's always solutions to that kind of stuff. I don't really buy that kind of messaging, to be honest. Like, there's solutions to that kind of problem. There's not solutions to a player being 20 million overpriced. Especially if we were willing to pay a lot of money for Mateus, which we were. Just not as much. I'm not sure he'd want to pay rise. I mean, look, anybody will want to pay rise, but that's not necessarily. You know, here's what I would say. All right, let's back up a sec. Let's back up a step. Okay, let's back up a step. You know, Tchouameni doesn't necessarily want to leave Real Madrid, right? So he might say, hey, you know, yeah, if I'm gonna leave, sure, pay rise, right? I don't want to be forced out and be on the same wages or something like that. Okay. Could be just leverage on his part to make sure that they get a good, you know, that he gets a good deal as a part of this if Madrid are looking to sell him. There's lots of possibilities in this, but you also have to bear in mind on the wages.
James, help me. I'm on the edge of turning into a Twitter account raging that we didn't sign MF. I just don't see the alternatives being any easier. Plus we need people who will actually improve us instantly. MF was risky too.
Well, that's the point. Mateus Fernandes was risky. And at that price, he was very risky. And we do have alternatives out there. Maybe we don't know who we're going to sign. I get that. But look, the World Cup is on. Enjoy it. Don't worry too much yet. That's all I'm saying. The alternatives may not be easier, but it's not necessarily about ease. You know? We don't know their valuations. We don't know who they value and what. But yeah, I could see the Tchouameni wage thing being a bit of a negotiating standpoint from him. But remember that this is also part of the problem that Madrid are running into. They need to renew or sell. You know what I'm saying? They need to renew or sell because he only has 2 years left. So they have to renew or sell. So when you look at that, you go, okay, well, what does that mean? Right? What does it mean there? Well, are they going to be handing out a bigger wage to a player? So there's just, we'll just see where it's at. We'll just see where we end up with this. It is a strange thing to keep repeating, but we'll see what comes of it. And I want to see who else reports on the situation, if there's anything different too, because we haven't heard that from anybody else as of yet. And you know, there's other factors in this. But again, you know, that the wage situation is one that you know, the wage situation is one they're going to have to sort out one way or another because of the new contract. The only other thing I just want to say, in terms of information, Fabrizio was adamant that Madrid had not opened doors to selling Tchouameni a week ago. Cortegana says they are. So maybe he just doesn't know. Maybe he's just not up to date on that. I don't know. Because he never reported that they were open to selling him. But Cortegana has. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe there are other reporters who are just more informed on this deal. Then he targets the fans don't really know about. I mean, you know, Nemcha kind of came out of nowhere. I've named a ton of, like, 11 other players as well from the last few days. Tchouameni's agents telling Fabrizio only way United opened the doors high wage. Maybe. Could be something like that. I'm sure there's other names, out there for sure. I listed out like 10 or 11 of them the other day, and I'm sure there's more as well. And look, obviously they're not all as exciting. When you're talking about the top like serious players, we kind of probably know most of the names for the really serious options. But, there's certainly a lot of other names that are probably more like actually like if we're signing two midfielders, the two more midfielders, the one after the one. Look, there's no doubt we're going to have to spend big for someone this summer, right? That is not in question. But clearly for them, Matheus Fernandes was not the player to spend that on from their valuation to the actual cost. We're going to have to spend a lot on somebody. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure we will. But clearly that he is not the one that they think is that good. To that level. Or we'd have paid. Oh. Haaland. Inevitable.
James, how much do you think United would be willing to pay for Tchouameni? Surly Madrid will ask more than 85 meters.
I think they'd be willing to 85 to 90 million. I think they were prepared. I think the payment terms are important here too, by the way. You just knew Haaland was going to score, man. I'm sorry. You can't stop the guy. It's too easy for him. Norway are good, man. I keep telling people Norway are damn good. They are good. 90 million, I think they'd be willing to pay that kind of money. Payment terms are important. I think Madrid are usually easy on the payment terms because they don't have a problem. Very, very casual with the finish. Too casual. He nearly got it saved. Yeah, but he did score. His positioning though, anticipation. He even knew it as soon as he tapped it. He was like, "Oh shit, I didn't kick that hard enough." But anyway, yeah, look, the payment terms are important. With West Ham, it's like 85 million up front that they're getting for Fernandes. And it's probably in one payment. They'd be willing to stretch 90, 95, even higher potentially on certain players, but depending on the payment terms is very important for United. Very, very important for United because cash is an issue. But that's something to think about. Yeah, look, the market is crazy. There's no doubt. Market's crazy. Let's see where they end up, man. Let's see where they end up. I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not worried. I'm not fussed because of the Matheus thing. Like, I get it, man. There's lots of negative reporting on every deal, but I'll tell you what's ironic. It was kept being pushed how positive it was on Matheus when I was negative on it, and look at how it's turned out. I'm pretty positive on a few others. Let's see what happens. All I can say, man. When people were saying we're going to get Matheus, when Fabrizio was doing hourly videos, we're pushing for Matheus, hard for Matheus. We're in talks with Mendes, in talks with West Ham, pushing, get it done. Not blaming him. This is the job, right? And such. I said, look, I think there's actually a strong chance we don't get this deal done. I'm pretty confident from the things I hear on other fronts. Pretty confident. Oh, Haaland almost did it again. Man, Odegaard is such an annoying player. Am I positive on Scott? I think that I'm not saying, like, here's, I guess, what I'm saying. I still feel we have enough options that we'll get a really good one. And I think that there's more of a chance for Scott than is being stated. And I think there's more of a chance for Tchouameni than has been stated in the last few weeks. And so I'm more, like, in a general sense, I'm just more positive that one of these will get done. Ahmad. On my Ivory Coast teams doesn't offer enough in attack, support-wise. A poor pass from Diomande there left Ahmad in trouble. Would I have wanted at least a signing by now, though? We have Ederson. We have a signing. Allen was looking for another there, didn't get it. No, Norway are very, very good. Norway are really good right now, man. Gotta say it. We need Scott and Tchouameni. Yeah, but if we get Scott, I agree with you. It's sort of a funny one because, like, if we get Scott, then yes, I would agree. We need someone like Tchouameni. You know what the problem is? I just think that Tchouameni is a must. I think Tchouameni is a must. That's kind of my feeling. Like, that's my. Does it feel like no one counts Ederson as a signing? And I keep telling people for weeks that they think they've got a really good player there, but whatever, it's fine. It does feel like Tchouameni is a bit of a must to me. Like that's my golden goose this summer is the Tchouameni deal. That's my guy because I look at it and I'm like, to me, if you can get Tchouameni, then I don't really care about the third signing because of how much he solves and experience and all of that and the type of starting midfield it creates. If you're getting a Scott, I think it's very good, and I really rate Alex Scott. But it's a similar boat to Mateus Fernandes. Then I think you really need a very good third one to hedge your bets a little bit on the potential and stuff. But yeah, definitely Tchouameni's the golden goose. Oof. Oh. Ivory Coast, close. It's not panic stations if Tchouameni doesn't join. It's just because again, I'm happy with Scott too, but then I'm gonna have more focus on the third that we get another good third. Are we watching France versus Sweden? Honestly, I don't know. I was thinking about it, but I was thinking I might. I have shit to do between now and then. If I have the time, I'm gonna come back for that. If I have the time, I'm gonna come back for that one. No Tchouameni. Like, if we can't get Tchouameni, I would be like, I want Scott and Buwadi. That would be my two. I know they're both young, but then you're getting like a really good high potential 6 plus Scott, who I think is a really good high potential all round kind of flexible player. So that would be my thing. If we didn't get Tchouameni, I would want Buwadi and Scott. That would be my new, like, that's what we need to get. We need 3 starting level players in the middle. Andy Min said, yeah, and that's and I share a lot of sentiment with a lot of the things Andy Min has said. In my belief, I spent a couple weeks ago. We had this whole conversation. People were giving me a really hard time about it when I said, look, we don't have any academy players who I think are ready. We just don't. And I remember people getting really upset with me for saying it, but it's the common belief of the club that our academy isn't that good. That's the truth. So But that doesn't mean we need 3. That means we're intending to get 3, and I think we'll get them. I might be biased to believing Andy Mitten because he keeps saying things that I've said, but that's that makes me feel very good about the things I'm saying. Hardly a more respectable journalist out there in football. What if we get Tchouameni, who's the 3rd mid? I don't care. Genuinely. I'd be happy with Sanderberg at that point. Another player who can play in the 6, you know? I don't know that crossing like that is necessarily Ivory Coast's best bet here. Boadi is city bound? Okay, then where's Rodri going? I like Sangare. Sangare would be a nice 3rd option. Hold on, let me look at my big list again. If we got Tchouameni. Let me go back to my list here. Oh, Ahmad, almost. Oh my God, dude. Holy, what a save. Damn. Oh, that's such a good shot, dude. Wow, what a save. Great shot from Ahmad, man. He's leaving this tournament held high if they can't score in the next couple minutes here. Other targets as a 3rd. Sadiki, Smith, Yarmouk. Casado, Musakitis. Tyler Adams, Hillman, Berg. I'd be happy with any of those. Kefren Turam. I'd be happy with any of those as a 3rd if you got Tchouameni. Here we go. The last cross. Oh! Oh! Hold on. It's over. It's over. Norway have gone through. Well, another 86th min winner. Ahmad was incredible. Ahmad was great. He's been their best player. Condolences to Ahmad and to Ivory Coast, but there you have it. Norway are good, man. Norway are good. Ahmad was great. Definitely should hopefully, I mean, he's going to be sad, but come away from the World Cup with a lot of confidence in his feeling. He was really good. So hope he comes back rested, ready to go. have a great season. Helps us, gets back on the level. He deserved better. But yeah, good for Ahmad. He had a good run. But yeah, well, Norway are good, man. Norway are quite good. I could see them beating Brazil. Honestly, I could see them beating Brazil. Norway are exceptional, honestly. But Ahmad impressed me a lot more than Diomande during this tournament. That's for sure. Ahmad definitely should have started. All right. It's been a long one, guys. 2.5 hours here. We've done longer, but I'm going to end it here, get some stuff done. I might be back for France, Sweden later, okay? Might be back. But thank you all for hanging out with me today. Obviously, it's been a lot going on. First hour and a half was almost purely, maybe hour and 45 was purely United talk and all of that. So, yeah. Mateus Fernandes to Spurs is done. What do United do next? What do United do next? Okay. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day if I don't see you. Bye, everybody.